Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. This is video 185, and I'm going into a slightly different thing than I at all expected to be doing. I'm going to want to talk about the planet Earth and the other and stars and constellations and people who have helped us understand the world as we now know it, and I got inspired by the last video when I was thinking about here's Eratosthenes, and he comes up with this amazing way to take a view of the Earth and to realize it's a sphere, and that it's not flat. Way back in time, and the record that he kept of what his work was had to be a scribe had to write it out, scribe it out, and it was on a parchment that was made from reeds in the river, and then that was rolled and kept and cataloged and pulled out and read, but no way to get information around like we've got now. And so that famous library burned, and maybe likely that maybe destroyed one volume, one roll of what he'd observed. We know about it now, so somehow it got out there that this was, and some people knew about it, but obviously at the time of let's say, Columbus wasn't aware of it, and I mentioned jokingly he might not have gone on his voyage had he realized how large the Earth was. Anyway, this book got me thinking again, and I was impressed with the book originally, but even more so now. And I realized he proved it by seeing shadows and taking a view into a well and shadows there, and just so clever. And then I ended that video with reading a little something from Alan Abel, and he's picked up by a cab driver, gets a cab in the Northwest Territories of Canada, up in the really cold Arctic, and he notices that the cab driver is probably not from that area, and it turns out he's from the Sudan, and so he asks him, what do you tell your relatives about this, that live in a place that's frost-free like Khartoum? And he says, well, I tell them about the midnight sun, but they don't believe it, and they don't believe about the driving on the frozen river in the winter, and they don't believe the 2 months of darkness, and they don't believe the -45 below zero. So I stopped telling them. So you got to see it to believe it often. You can hear about it, but seeing it. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'd really, I don't know, we all have gaps in our things that we've shown interest in. I never had a telescope and never really got interested in, but I've got books to share for younger people, for older people, that are nonfiction, that are fiction, and I just like to put that little segment in there, just like maybe one about the North, or about winter, or about the senses, or about other things that I want to share. So, here goes. I had read the life of Galileo. I had heard of some of these people, and I had read this. And in fact, I used it with a class once. And in fact, I've got a copy here that belonged to Daryl Ritchie. And so if you're out there, Daryl, watching this, thanks for reading that book in grade 9. Now, this is a challenging, somewhat challenging book. It's a play, so it's a drama, and you've got your characters and what they say, and and I just thought, but in dealing with the stars, we're like worms with clouded eyes who can see only very little. The old teachings, which were believed for 1,000 years, are collapsing. And that's what's happening in the time of Galileo. And so the play is quite fascinating. I marked out big passages and sections and things. Oh, here's this about Jupiter, for example. There are 4 smaller stars close by it, which you can only see through the telescope. I saw them on Monday, but took no particular notice of their position. Yesterday I looked again. I could have sworn that all 4 had changed their position. I made a note of it. Now, their position is different. Again, what's this? I saw 4. Excitedly, look. I say 3. Where is the 4th? Here are the tables. We must calculate what movements they could have made. Well, of course, one of them has gone around behind. It's circling just like the moon would circle out of sight. Well, so, very exciting stuff. The play was first produced in 1947, and this is a translation into English from the German. And then the man who played Galileo does later on a nice introduction. Both of them have really nice introductions. A nice introduction, and has done a translation which follows along closely to this. Now, in this book, for example, Galileo's daughter has a part, and she is called Virginia. And she appears in this book as first as Virginia, but later by the name that she takes. She and her younger sister both join a convent, and they take on new names, and she is the one that we have saved. I think there's 60 some, or 60 plus some of letters that she wrote to her father, Galileo Galilei, and Deva Sobel, who's written some other interesting books, one on longitude, which was interesting because in terms of sailing and traveling on the ship. Actually, the telescope was helpful there too. So this is, well, I just was fascinated. Now, Virginia doesn't really appear into it until about page 110 or so. When you start getting these letters that she writes to her father, and her father responds, and just the letter writing to each other, and the thoughtfulness and the care and the support from him, and she's often having to put in long hours helping nurse people. There's a plague, and then some years later, plague, where waters and other things are touchy about what you eat, and Galileo has health issues, his own health issues, and one of them is his sight, and I made a special marking of that. I took I don't know if you can see these, but page numbers and starred things that I liked, thought would be interesting, but I'm not going to share with you all of that. It's just for me, and I made little marks in the book, and tell you more interesting story about that another time. And so here's something that I wanted to share with you. Oh, maybe this is not it. Let's see. Oh, this is about the telescope and helping people to see. He sold telescopes, somebody to manufacture them and sell them, especially in Italy. The Netherlands had something else going on there as well, and but anybody who would have bought one of his telescopes would have been, I think, so thankful and so appreciative of what he'd done to show them a world they had no sense existed. So anyway, if I could, oh, here it is, the passage. Other symptoms Galileo sometimes singled out for specific mention included chest pain, a hernia from which he wore a heavy iron truss, insomnia, and various problems with his eyes, particularly unfortunate for an astronomical observer. As a result of a certain affliction, I began to see a luminous halo more than 2 feet in diameter around the flame of a candle. Galileo wrote of one such condition to a colleague, capable of concealing from me all objects which lay beyond it. As my malady diminished, so did the size and density of the halo, though more of it has remained with me than is seen by perfect eyes. His frequent telescope demonstrations may have predisposed him also to ocular infections, easily communicated by sharing the eyepiece. You've just been looking and you say, hey, you gotta look at this, and oh yeah, whoa, and so not without his own health issues, but and issues with the powers that be. Fascinating story. Highly recommend both the play and this, which has a lot of drama in it. So, thanks for joining me. Until next time, when I'm going to show you more.